Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. We want to wish everybody the best with their families during this time of year. And we have a show tonight that we're going to be talking about that is from looking from the perspective of Richard Allen and how key the information and who is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the most key witnesses uh, that will come up in the court case against Richard Allen. But as always, a little housekeeping before we get into it. We have the Nightbot still working, and so our mods and everything. Don't worry about the prompts; it's doing a great job. And also respect each other and chat. Respect the mods and enjoy the content. And if you have any questions, like I said, we'll have after the presentation a question section. So with that being said, we'll get into it. All right. As always, a little brief bio. This is Steve, and I'm Steve. I'm retired law enforcement. Had 20-year career. Started off working in the jail, went on the road, and then into investigations. Had all different types of training throughout my career, and became a state certified crime scene technician. And I've worked all different types of cases, from simple thefts up to homicides. And then when I retired, I became aware of the true crime and the web sleuth community, and decided to become the best liaison I could as an ambassador for law enforcement, and has been doing that so that the web sleuth community could see how law enforcement thinks at certain stages during the investigation, and things that we look at even as we prepare search warrants, affidavits, and after the arrest and we prepare for trial. There's still a continuation of those investigations. And we're going to be looking at some of the statements made tonight by the witnesses, and whereas law enforcement, how good they'd be feeling about the case, and evaluating which of the witnesses are extremely critical and have that key information. And there's a lot of key witnesses in this case, but as we go into the presentation, you'll see that there, and I'll point out who I believe is going to be absolutely uh, the key. And but anyway, we'll get started. Of course, we have, Richard Allen is the individual that's been charged with the 2 counts of murder of Libya Nabi, and who has described himself wearing the same clothes as what is in this famous or picture that Libby, uh, from her video, the still image was obtained from, and which is huge just by itself. And so you can say, of course, Richard Allen is a key witness in this story, and he is. And the information that he has provided in those two key interviews he's had with law enforcement that we know about, and I'm sure he spoke to them since then. Now, he may have invoked his rights to silence, and his attorneys, of course, would have consulted him of if he was interviewed, of what would be said and what questions could be answered or not. And we just don't know those details yet. But it's extremely important that from that first time that he spoke to that law enforcement conservation officer early in an investigation in 2017, and then from the press release that we find out from the attorney that he spoke to him again, that we have these two documents, and how big of a statement that he made when you combine those two together, and how did he paint himself into a corner, and what will the attorneys have to do to get out of this. And it is absolutely something that will be hard for the defense to overcome. And as you see when we get into there, if you do have opinions and statements, comments, if you can't get in tonight or something, email me or put them in the comments after the video, and we appreciate it. All right. This is the first contact that we know of that law enforcement looked at. It's the one that they put inside the probable cause affidavit for the arrest warrant for Richard Allen. And it says, of course, that he says that he was on the trails between 1:30 and 3:30 on the day that Libby and Abby went missing, which is the critical time frame that we know. And we're going to see that there's, right now when you look at this, we're talking about a 2-hour period, but there's going to be a time that's just down to minutes. And it's those few minutes that matter the most when it comes to witnesses, what they saw, what they'll be able to testify in court, and what type of arguments will be brought up against what they can testify to. But he says that he parked at the old Farm Bureau buildings and walked to the new Freedom Bridge, which appears to be that it's going to be the CPS buildings. And everything that he makes in this statement is corroborated in several forms, either by driving past the camera, vehicles being seen that have matched the descriptions of vehicles that he owned at that time. So everything has some type of supporting evidence to back that he was on the trails. He says he was there. We have law enforcement has obtained images of everything that backs up his story. And even to the point of where he meets those 3 juveniles on the trail. And he talks about that he did speak to them. He saw them in the general area of where the witnesses corroborate. And then, of course, he says he didn't see anybody else because he's paying attention to his stop ticker. And he said he did see some vehicles parked at the High Bridge trailhead, and but he didn't pay any attention to them. And of course, he didn't take any video, audio, and or photos or video. And so this is just a basic overview of what was in that first canvassing interview by law enforcement that has now, was missed for several years and overlooked and wasn't followed up on. Then we have this after he was arrested and his attorneys make a news release, brief. They talk about that in October, Richard Allen was interviewed again, and which was the first time in 5 years. And once again, he reiterates that he saw those kids, the juvenile girls, on the trail, and that he went on to the Moonon High Bridge to watch the fish. Said he walked onto the first platform on the bridge, which is going to be critical of when we talk about the key witness. And now you know exactly where we're going with this, about who that key witness that saw him on that platform, because we're talking about 2 people that met for just a few seconds, and neither one of them would have known what the other had said. Throughout this 5.5 years, we had never heard anyone say that they saw an individual on that first platform. And now we have Richard Allen independently come out and say, oh, I was on that first platform. And so, which corroborates exactly what that key witness testified to. And, he has put himself on the bridge, and then he goes on and that he describes exactly what that key witness 5.5 years ago, similar, wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt. And I think she said blue jeans with a blue, as we'll get back in there, with a blue jean coat or something. And he also says that he may be wearing some type of head covering, and which is corroborated that if you look at Bridge Guy, this is if you had a witness that said, I saw someone and this is what they were wearing, and able to state those facts, not knowing the possibility of that being a coincidence is extremely small, although coincidences do happen. But and he says that he saw no one else except for the juvenile girls on that near the Freedom Bridge, and that's key. And we'll get into what all he did see and what all he didn't see. And he also says he owns firearms, which and will be key also in a different part of it. We're not going to be covering that tonight. We're going to be looking at these witnesses. But here's just an overview of some key points of the trail. The arrows pointing to general locations so that you can see from CPS parking and the harvest store cameras, the Mears Trail access, the cemetery, the murder site, the abduction site, and where the parking is, and the CPS trail access. In any order, these will all be key points that will be brought up during the trial, and they'll be discussed, and there'll be timelines, and there's a lot of timelines out there. And, you know, we could rehash and break it down minute by minute, but the timeline that is going to be most critical, in my opinion, is going to be those few minutes by that one witness that saw so much information. And talking about there at the start of the Moon High Bridge, and going from that point forward. And I mean, we're only talking about a few minutes there. It's not going to be that we're talking about an hour and a half. We're only talking about a few minutes. But anyway, I put some line of sight, or here in Georgia, as we say, as the crow flies, some distances that I got off of Google Earth. The line of sight from where Richard Allen parked at the CPS to where the murder site is 4,641 feet, which is somewhere between just over 0.8 of a mile. Which in law enforcement, if there is an abduction or when there's contact between a offender and the victims, what is the motive? What is going to happen with that crime? Is this a robbery or is it an abduction? And if you're going to do an abduction, or if you're going to do a robbery, or whatever your contact and your purpose is, you'll bring organized offenders will bring their weapons of choice to make sure that they're able to control. And from what we know of this case, that there was a firearm involved and some type of edged weapons involved that would have been in the control of the offender and being used to control our two victims, Libby and Abby. And he's 4,641 feet away from his vehicle. So we can say that, okay, he's going to kidnap, and we do have a kidnapping under the rules of Georgia that anytime you tell someone to move forcibly, basically you have committed the offense of kidnapping. And Indiana, of course, way he was charged, it appears to be that's part of the charging within the affidavit. And so I don't feel that when he kidnapped him, that he was going to force him walking all the way back down that trail in any shape, form, or fashion, down a road, down a path, through the woods, back 4,641 feet to his vehicle. So where was he going to take them? First words, and the only words that we know that he told them was down the hill. Now, what was his purpose of taking them down the hill? There's a lot of theories out there right now. We don't know. Where was he going to carry them? Was there other people involved? Was there a location that he wanted to take them to that he had in his mind and his fantasy of where he wanted to commit whatever crime that he had planned that day? And so we got this distance. And then we look at a distance of where Richard Allen, in his words, of where he was by his own admission. And he parked at CPS, and he says he went to the first platform. And the Google Earth distance says that's 3,900 feet. And he places himself on that bridge, which isn't quite all the way to the murder site, but it's just within a few hundred feet of where that murder site and crime occurred. And this is all key information because he has put himself on that bridge wearing the clothes that we see 729 feet across that bridge from the first platform to basically where the abduction occurred is where, as I said, line of sight as a crow flies. He says he's on that bridge, and he's only 729 feet from where Libby and Abby were abducted from. And he's only a few hundred feet also down the creek from where they were murdered. And so through the triangulation of that, you would see that he's in the area, he's within the kill zone, he puts himself there, he's painted himself in a corner, he says he's there at a critical time. And what time is that? We have a witness that corroborates, and we'll come up with that time. Checking convictions. Thank you for all you do. You're a blessing to our community. Merry Christmas. May you have the best in the coming new year. Thank you again. Thank you, checking convictions. That's very nice of you.
Thank you so much.
And I like checking convictions. She has a great community. Go check her out and everything. But when you take the line of sight and of all these different positions that he says, that from the crime scene to where he's parked at, like I said, it's 4,641 feet, where Richard Allen says that he walked by his own testimony and own admissions that he walked 3,900 feet, that he places himself within just a few hundred feet of where the abduction. And when you add those two numbers together, there's only like 12-foot difference. You know, it's very few feet. I think it's 36, 29, 41. Yeah, there's a 12-foot difference. So we're looking at a round trip that if Richard Allen is the one who has put himself on that bridge, and he's the one that walked, and he's the one that crossed that bridge in the clothing that he says he was wearing, and he's only, so we're looking at a round trip of just over 1.5 miles. And of course, you can deduct that from his timeline of how long he says he was at the bridge. And then we have the other witnesses, and all the witnesses' testimony is key, but there's going to be a very special timeline that is extremely short and extremely critical, because when we look at those few moments that everything could have occurred, and we're only talking about a 10-minute, 12-minute window of opportunity. And when you go over those details, that how can you convince a jury of all the things that went on in that 10 or 12 minutes, not the hour and a half. We're only talking about a 10 or 12-minute window of opportunity of things happening and people being in certain locations. And we have a key witness that saw everything, as far as saw both victims, and then saw a person identified that matches the description of an image taken by Libby and Abby at the time of their abduction. So Richard Allen, through both his statements, he admits that he was on the trails that day. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He says, I'm there. And we have video that corroborates the time he arrives. We have 3 witnesses, the juveniles, that says he's on those trails. And we have that witness that would have had no way of knowing what BG looked like at the time unless she had actually seen an individual dressed in this manner on that first platform. And then we have an individual that says, oh, I was on that first platform and I'm dressed in a certain manner. And what juror won't be able to associate and bring those two facts together to come to the conclusion that, yes, this is him. He says he's on that bridge. He says he's out there looking for fish. He's there within that timeline. And he describes the clothing that he wore that day. And he, at this time, also, he has said that he did not see Libby and Abby. But this key witness says that after she saw Richard, or a man dressed in this manner, wearing the certain clothing, exactly what Richard Allen says that he was wearing, that she turned around and was heading back towards her vehicle. And she meets 2 girls that she believes is Libby and Abby. And so, and we're only just a few hundred feet from Richard Allen. And he's standing on the first platform, just minutes away, a few hundred feet away from where these 2 children are. And he claims that he didn't see them. He claims he never saw any other juveniles. And he advises that he owns firearms. And this is going to be critical for the fact that where could he have gone? Where could he have been? Because Libby and Abby did 2 things and we have images of not only we have a still image from a video, but we also have an image of when Libby and Abby first got to the bridge, when they started crossing the bridge, and when they got to the other side of the bridge. So they had to pass or see this individual that was dressed like Richard Allen, who Richard Allen says it was him that was dressed in that manner. But he says he never saw Libby and Abby during those few minutes of opportunity that this would have occurred. And we go to the probable cause affidavits, and the investigators lay it out that they believe the male observed by blank and blank is the same male depicted in the video from victim two's phone due to the description of the male by the 4 females matching the male in the video. And they also state that it was taken at, the video was taken at 2:13. And the blank female says that she saw only one male on the trail from the time that she arrived at the Mears parking lot to the time that she walked to the bridge. And she described this individual standing on the first platform, and she returned to her vehicle at 2:14. Well, if you split those 2 times, that puts her midway back towards the her vehicle. And she states that about midway back, she saw, and around 2 p.m. is where that little timeline would be, that she saw Richard Allen, and within minutes of that, she saw Libby and Abby, and they were going to be converging at some point. Richard Allen says he didn't see them, but how is that possible? And Richard Allen told investigators he's still there within that time period. And so he has to be able to explain away how it is possible that his story, that he missed these 2 children passing him on that bridge, and convincing a jury of that is going to be, I just don't understand how he will be able to focus on that. And we also have to look at what Richard Allen didn't see, or what he hasn't currently admitting to seeing. Now, he may have, if he has to go to court and take the stand, and he's going to have to come up with some type of individual he saw. And right now, we currently don't know that he has ever stated, and he says that we have no statement saying that he saw the Kleins, that he saw Ron Logan. He didn't see anyone matching BG's description other than himself, because he says that he's wearing no clothing. And he also says he didn't see the witness who spotted him on the first platform. And that is odd, but that may change if he does take the stand. And if he doesn't take the stand, these 2 statements will be brought into court and by the officers that did the interviews, and they will be standing alone, and he'll have to counter it. The attorneys will have to counter it in some shape, form, or fashion. Don't know how they would do it. But he says that he walked to a bench on the trail. So if he followed the female who saw him on the platform, how was he able to pass Libby and Abby on the trail and not see them? And then during the same time period, after the encounter of that, he never at any point says that he saw Derek Dermott. He never saw a flannel shirt guy. He didn't see a muddy and bloody guy. And he didn't see the abductors or the abduction. And he didn't speak to Libby or Abby. And so all this information that he didn't see and didn't come forward with any information for this 5.5 years, he has painted himself. He has chosen a path, and he has put himself on that bridge. And he had never come forward saying he saw anyone else on that bridge matching this description that he gave of the items that he was wearing, which is huge. And like I said, I've never seen where anyone has ever placed themselves in such a position of and how his attorneys will overcome this. It boggles my mind. Although I'm sure they're going to have to try. Now, of course, they're going to be arguing the magic bullet and all this other stuff like they already have, his attorneys have. But this first witness that saw him on the first platform, or this witness that saw him on the first platform, is going to be critical. All the other witnesses, they're corroboration and supporting evidence is critical also. But we have this one witness that she saw 3 people within a few hundred feet of the murder site. She saw the 2 victims, and she saw who she believes is the offender. And she described all 3 people, and which is huge. So when you go through what Bridge Guy over here is, from the approximate time at 2 p.m. when Allen was seen on the first platform to the time the video was made at 2:13, but there was also a picture made at 2:07. So we're talking about just a 5 to 10 minute window of opportunity that Richard Allen says that he was there, yet he saw none of these other individuals. He never saw anyone else that could commit the crime, that he's the only person there. He didn't see the victims, although the victims had pictures made of exactly where he was at standing. And then they have a still image from a video of an individual similar, wearing the clothing that he described. And how can this be explained other than it's Richard Allen? Like I said, I'm at a loss of words of being able how he will ever get himself out of this corner, and how his attorneys will. I can't, we see a lot of attorneys a lot of times, just like with the Casey Anthony case, that, they come up out of nowhere shockingly with these possibilities. Will we see that in this case? We'll have to, because I do not see a way that he can get out of this part of it. But anyway, if you have any information about this crime that law enforcement needs, the prosecution needs, or the defense needs, and you have key information, make sure you contact them, give them that information, because we want justice for Libby and Abby. And there's only one way that we can do that, is make sure that all the parties involved have all the information so that they can. All right. You got any questions?
You got a few.
Okay.
Let's see here. All righty.
But I appreciate everybody being here tonight. And hopefully, like I said, I laid it out as easy as I could. It is very complex trying to get everything lined up. But like I said, he chose a path, and he has put himself in a corner, and which is very telling.
You ready?
I am.
All right. And Bodacious, when is RA's next court date?
There's some of them they're already having. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of them after the first of the year, from everything from the defense as they start setting up. They're going to be having a lot of conferences about some of the hearings. And so they'll, I can't remember what the next date is, but it's somewhere in January, early part of January.
All right. And this one's for me. This is from Lisa at Mrs. Steve. Negative 25 wind chill here tomorrow, and up to 45-mile-per-hour winds. I know you want no part of that.
No, we don't.
That's not even in my realm of thinking. I would just curl up in a ball.
Y'all be careful out there in this weather.
Yeah. Or don't get out.
Yeah.
Stay in. All right. Single mom of 4. There was actually a few statements about the IMEI. So I just grabbed the last question. How did his phone or whatever phone not have an IMEI? All phones I thought had those.
Well, this is identification. It may have, but this is the information that they obtained from his phone that was probably on that first canvassing questionnaire that they obtained. And so this is information they got back in 2017. And so for the other question, I have no idea, but this is what they thought was important at the time.
It is kind of weird, because I thought all phones had those.
They probably do, but they may not include it in the.
Did not list an IMEI, but did have. Oh, that is weird.
Yeah.
All right. And Pigeon, platform meaning on the Monon High Bridge. So explain the platform to Pigeon for me.
On the bridge itself, if you envision that you have the,
You don't have a picture of that here.
no, I don't have a platform.
Okay.
But if you looked at a railroad track and you have your cross ties, the Monon High Bridge, every so far distance between, they had areas that were standalone platforms that you could stand to the sides of where the cross ties were that hung out over the creek. The platforms looked like they were probably 4 by 8 feet square, so that you could stand on those platforms away from, for whatever reason, in case a train was coming across there, I guess, that if you was crossing the creek and a train was coming, they used that as some type of safety feature where you could get off the train tracks. Although I couldn't imagine standing on one of them when a train would be coming by. That's what those little platforms off each side of the bridge were.
So many people having awful, awful weather.
Terrible.
Okay, so hold on one second. I'm scrolling to see if I can find something that Nikki. Oh, here it is.
JDR 279 super sticker. Thank you for your support.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate all of it.
All right, let's see here. Oh, Scott, I am so sorry. He got shocked at work and have 3rd-degree burns all over his hands.
Oh, man.
Oh, bless your heart. Ooh,
Yeah.
Yuck. Ugh. Ew. All right, so let's see here. Almost done. I'm just getting so much stuff here. Where's?
But yeah, not only what Rich Allen saw that day, but what he didn't say or hasn't reported saying currently. Now he can be able to change this, and he'll have to. Oh. If he does take the stand, and he does go to court, he's going to have to convince a jury of why his statement is what it is and has it changed. Josh DePosh, $5. Hi, Steve. Do you believe the recording of the IMEI info was part of the canvassing questionnaire? Why would the officer collect that information? Yes, I believe for him to mention that, yes, they were looking for it. And they had, for whatever part of their strategy was, and it's, absolutely necessary that if you have a cell tower and you have information, and it is a common part of an investigation now, that our lives are tracked so much and we're involved so much with all the technology that's out there, that they were betting that an offender would have his phone with him that day. And it turns out to be that the person that they charged did have his phone with him that day. And so that's what they were betting on. They had all the information from the cell tower, and they wanted as much information from each of the individuals to identify those devices. Hey, Dave, $4 super sticker. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Thistle. 3 more months.
Oh, Thistle, yes. Thank you.
All right, let's see here. All right, almost done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 8:34. Man, everybody came in at the same time.
Good, good. We want to answer as many questions as we can.
Okay. All right, just had another one. We'll go to Nancy.
Okay.
All right, then I'll stop that and we're going to come back up here. All right. And digital. Several say there is a building close to the Marathon station that was once the Farm Bureau building, which is where RA says he parked. The probable cause says LE believes he was wrong. Thoughts?
Yes. We have from the probable cause affidavit, they put in there that they see a vehicle matching the description of a vehicle within the timeline that Richard Allen says that he was on the trail, that when he arrived. And within a minute or two of when he says he arrives at the Harvest Store camera, a vehicle that Richard Allen owned is seen on that camera coming and heading towards the location of the CPS. And so law enforcement believes that's why, and that is him. And we have no reason to believe, or I don't have any reason to believe that law enforcement is wrong. If we didn't have that camera supporting that Richard Allen says that he was there, and within the time frame he says it, of him being able to get onto the Freedom Bridge, meet those juveniles, and see where the parking lot is, all that is supporting that he parked at the CPS buildings. But it's a good question, and I think that is, and it will be argued and brought up that, if they say he's parked somewhere else, or it may not even be brought up, that they may just concede that, yes, he was wrong on his identification of what building he parked at.
All right. And so how does RA walk from CPS parking lot to Freedom Bridge parking lot on the aerial map? Looks like you have to walk over the highway versus going the route to the Mears entrance.
Well, fortunately, I went there, so I know. You can walk right alongside the road there where you see in the top left-hand corner, it says CPS parking. If you just walk along the road there, before you get to that first house, there's a little gate there, and you can come through. And so you can walk straight from the CPS parking along the road and get into the Freedom Trail system without having to cross the highway.
And I love this statement. Anna, now that we know more, we know even less. None of it makes sense. If we ever get our questions answered, it will be something we cannot imagine.
And like I said, the Casey Anthony case, when that attorney came out and said the reason that Katie was never missing was because she was never missing, right, was absolutely unbelievable. I never in all my years thought that would be something that would be stated in court. Will that be the case on this? Will they have an answer? And I don't know what that could be. I mean, we have an individual that says he's there, didn't have to have an alibi for the fact that he says he's there. And but I feel very comfortable and very confident in the case that law enforcement has, due to the fact that we have this witness that puts the girls within a certain location, within a certain time frame, and she identifies that she saw someone she believes not only is the girls, but also the offender, and puts him on that first platform. And then out of nowhere, we have a guy that was never on the radar that says, I was on that platform at a certain time, and it's within the time frame that this witness says. Absolutely critical, absolutely huge, and I don't know how he overcomes it. You having fun, Mrs. Steve?
Oh, yeah.
She works hard.
Yeah, just trying to keep up. Let's see here.
Mrs. Steve has her coffee cup also.
Of course, I have to. Okay. All right. One little question here. Okay, hold on.
We need one more device and we'll be set.
If I didn't have this with this, I'd be in trouble. Okay. Let's see here. Where was I at? I've already done that one. All right. And Anna, I wonder if there's video of the man saying, guys, down the hill. Defense may argue it is him on the bridge, but not his voice.
And that is a key point, because that's been argued a lot. Although Doug Carter says that the same person on the bridge is the same person that's responsible. And of course, everybody's tore that apart. But yes, it is key. And we will find that out at some point. And if they can go in there, and like I said, I've never seen voice analysis experts in court. Will this be something that we do get to see? I'm hoping. And we'll see what that technology says.
And Ann, you're so right, Mr. Steve. R.A. has painted himself into a corner. What jury is going to buy defense argument that there was another guy wearing specified clothes at a specific time who is the, quote, right guy?
And that's, I mean, you just have to place yourself on that jury, and what story would you believe, and what testimony would have to be brought forward to convince you? And I just don't understand how it would ever be. And we have witnesses that didn't know what each other were saying, because Richard Allen's statement is testimony. It'll get into court. Either he can bring it into court when he testifies, or he chooses not to. But the investigators and officers that interviewed him will get that information and before that jury. Joshua Posh, $5. If Richard Allen is bridge guy on the video, but not the voice, Richard Allen has explaining to do about what he saw. Exactly.
Yeah, no kidding.
And that's what, this here, when I state currently, he doesn't say he's seen any of these people. And so that can change. And I put currently in there for that purpose, that always things can evolve and people can turn and people can bring in evidence. And will he bring in some information of one of those tentacles or another person involved? We just don't know yet.
All right, I'm all caught up. Hold on one second.
But I wanted to bring it in and look at it from where Richard Allen, of how he painted himself in this corner, and what has he done to his case, and how would the attorneys and how would they figure out a plan of action? And of course, that has to be somewhat believable, and I don't know.
All right, and Anna, I can't wrap my head around how so many seem to have seen R.A., but nobody ever thought he was the guy who worked at CVS. I think his body proportions are odd, and he is very short.
And I agree, and that may have been one of the things that had misled everyone that knew him over these years, that his, from the profile or the description that was on the wanted posters and everyone was discussing, that, well, that is Ron Logan, or is that someone else? And they're between 5'8" or 5'6" to 5'10". And then you have Richard Allen, who is right at 5'4", from some information. And you have other people saying he's bigger, but I don't believe so. I believe that the 5'3" to 5'4" is where he is. And at some point we'll know exactly. But everybody's arguing his true height, but I believe he is extremely short. All right, Molly, 1999. Merry Christmas to you, Steve and Mrs. Steve. Have a wonderful holiday. Thanks for all the great things with your channel for us to enjoy so much. Much appreciation. And we thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we hope your arm is feeling okay with this cold weather. And y'all have a great Christmas.
Amen. All right. And let's see here. Let's make sure that's the right one. Okay. And
yeah, anytime you put yourself there during this timeline and all these other people are on that bridge and they don't see you and you don't see them, why? And how can that be explained? Because we have family members looking for for his daughter and can't find them. And you have other people on that describe other people they saw on the trails that day, and but not Richard Allen.
okay. All right, I'm probably gonna have to stop after this one. We'll never.
Oh.
All right. And Cincy, question: do you think there was a separate person in black, or do you think it was just a witness mistake? No other person witnessed a man in black. What are your thoughts? I think witness mistake.
I agree with you. That even when you look at the picture of Bridge Guy in this current slide. On the left-hand side, if you're on that walking trail where they saw him in any of the shaded areas, at what point did the witness pay attention to his clothing? Could they have mistaken his dark blue jacket as a black jacket? I'm terrible with colors. I have a red-green deficiency, and if I saw the left side or where his left arm is, I would say that was, black. If it was sunlit, of course, I would say it's blue. And we just don't know at what point each of the witnesses, and exactly because the shadows on that trail are broken up, and just a matter of feet from a tree shadow can change the perspective of what color that jacket is. And so I think it's just one person. And of course, that's going to be brought out in court. And, each of the witnesses are going to say what they have to say as far as what they saw, and truthfully. And if there was only one male standing there at the one time, then of course it can only be one individual. And that's going to be the person that, Richard Allen says that when he was on that trail, he saw the 3 juveniles. He didn't say he saw the 3 juveniles and another male walking in the same direction in front of him or behind him. He says, I saw the 3 juvenile females. Described one of them. He didn't describe anyone else that was with him or in the area. And the 3 juveniles same.
And Anna, does anyone know when LE released the video? When RA spoke to the conservation officer, I figure he didn't know there was a video. It
was right there in this time period of when they released. Now, true on the video, but the image, it was right there at some close time period, I believe. But yes, that information is out there. I'll see if I can find it.
And Teresita, Steve, do you think the defense will focus on corruption in Carroll County?
In their release, that press release, they brought it up about the election. What else will they bring up? And just because they may try to bring it up doesn't mean it's going to get into the court. They'll have hearings of what will be allowed in the court in the presence of the jury. Now, they may be trying to bring up all different types of conspiracies, but that judge is going to have the final say of what's going to be presented to that jury.
And Kathleen at Steve, I am curious to know if there is conversation between the girls as soon as Libby started her video. Something made them suspicious of the BG.
Yes. And I've always said I wanted to see that whole video, regardless of what is on it. I don't care if we only have a second or two of BG. I want to see it and watch it until it ends or it shuts off or whatever happens. The FBI says that they have 43 seconds of video or an audio, and I would love to see it and in its entirety.
Okay, let's see. Most folks are saying he's around 5'4".
Yeah.
Some say 5'6". I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's been argued by so many different.
He's got very short legs. So, okay. So we're going to rock on from that. Let's see here.
Gonna rock on.
We are going to rock on, y'all. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. 849 policy. And I'll come back to that one.
All right.
In digital, are Libby's photos, videos time-stamped?
Evidently, because they say at the exact time of the 213, 214 that they have a timestamp of when the video, and so, and then of the Snapchat of when the upload was. So yes, there's some information of exactly what times certain occurrences occurred.
Okay.
Oh, Jennifer Rochelle, 99 cent super sticker. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. And thank you for Nightbot.
Yeah, no kidding.
Appreciate that.
A lot of work went into that, girl, and I appreciate it.
Yes, we have some great mods. We wish y'all a Merry Christmas also.
Let's see here. 850, Jennifer. All right, and Ann, defense will just try to undermine witness testimony, but agree he admitting to being at the scene at the time in the close will be hard to dislodge from jurors' minds.
Yes, and like I said, you have a witness that describes him, and at what point did she have that information? And she puts him exactly at the same location at the same time, and out to the first platform, and that's something that is from memory recall, and he says the same thing. So you got two independent people that don't have any type of relationship saying the exact same thing about a certain time period, about certain clothing.
Mm-hmm. And True Crime Housewife, her husband just pulled into a rest stop in Missouri, set a wreck just up from him. He's in a semi. So if you're the praying kind, lift some up for her husband and for all driver safety during this massive storm. What did I say that thing was called?
Bomb cyclone.
Bomb cyclone. So those two words together really don't go together, I don't think. But anyway. All right. And Molly.
See, I listened to you.
Yeah, and I couldn't even remember. Molly, at True Crime Web, any knowledge if R.A. was legally adopted by his stepfather? I didn't know he had a stepfather. No. That would legally change his name. Or if legally it is still his prior name. Can't remember what that is.
No, I have no idea. And that may probably won't get into court, but it may be something that they'll look into in case he had separate, different types of names or aliases in his past.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a stepdaddy. And Ann, agree, Mr. Steve. I don't think the LE officer to whom RA made his report actually had the phone in hand and may have been asking RA to find the IMEI. And RA just couldn't find it, and officer let it go.
Yes, I would be in the same boat as Richard Allen if you asked me for that.
You would just hand it to me, and I would pull it for you.
I'd hand it to Mrs. Steve. That's correct.
See there? All right, and silently, I'm just going to go there. What should people who think they have info but don't trust the person who is taking it in? What if they won't let them talk to someone else? Ooh.
What should people who think they have information but don't trust the person who is taking it in?
They have a tip.
Yeah, and they're fearful. And there are certain individuals out there that have that distrust of the government. And if you are that person, and I see by your name, Silently Scared Quiet, if you do have that information and you're not willing to contact law enforcement, find a trusted friend, preacher, whoever, send it to me. I'll turn it in. But if you have certain information that needs to be gotten to the correct individual, get it to them because it's necessary. And law enforcement, prosecution, defense deserves to have all the information that is possible.
In digital, I bet his defense is looking for ballistic video and social media tech communication experts.
Yes, and that's probably, and that they're having a hearing about that so that the prosecution, the defense is trying to keep their line of defense out of the eyes of the prosecution. But I would agree with you.
All right. And Nancy, hi, Steve. In a report, I saw the defending attorneys were asking for more money to help get better resources. Is that just because her case is weak?
That's a pretty fair statement. But no, um, they anytime that you're fighting, the state has, although their state doesn't have unlimited monies. You only have the state labs, crime labs, but they do have tremendous resources all the way up to the FBI. And it will be extremely expensive for the defense to find experts that have the skills and the level it takes to become an expert to counter the claims made by the state. And but yes, that's a fair question, and but yes, they have a huge hurdle to overcome.
Truffles. Hold on.
we got
Hold on.
what kind of truffles?
Oh, here it is. We have a new member.
Oh, Truffles.
Truffles.
Thank you, Truffles. We appreciate your support. It means a lot to us. Allows us to do a lot of things. Actually, I just sent a message to one of my to Drew earlier tonight on the Evansdale murders, communicating with him.
Oh, okay. So is Truffles friends with?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. All right. And let's go back. All right. And True Crime Housewife. Mr. Steve, have you seen the photo of the man in black that was going around? Has mask and GoPro as well. I have it if you haven't.
I remember seeing the image somewhere about that. He was going and was on a porch or something. I've seen it, but yeah, you can send it to me if you want to. Steve at truecrimeweb.com.
And Jeff, if Alan had never spoken to LE in 2017, do you see any path to his arrest?
It depends on that phone and at what point. But yes, at some point, I believe that they would have gotten to him. At some point, they would have went back and cold cased and through the phone records, been able to link him.
All right. And MK, do you think by now the defense has an idea of the evidence the prosecution has or some of the evidence?
Oh, yes. I mean, they're going to have to overcome the evidence that Richard Allen has given the state. Then they have to overcome, if that is a partial fingerprint of his, which we don't know, the partial, the markers of whatever DNA, how does it exclude him or not? And we don't know whatever evidence they have, whatever, digital evidence that's out there. New York Rory became a YouTube member. Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
that.
much. Right now,
I'm breaking them names down tonight.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I'm really lost.
I don't see how some of these people run by themselves. I guess I couldn't.
And John Moore, when the railway was active, the platforms held barrels of sand used to extinguish a fire created by rail to locomotive wheel and a step off for pedestrians. Oh, that's what those little platforms were.
I knew they probably were some type of safety feature because that bridge is like 900 feet across. And can you imagine? I mean, you can't be halfway.
No, I mean, I can't even.
You ain't go out run a locomotive when you're halfway across it.
Well, I had no idea what they were for.
I knew that there was probably step off. I didn't know about the barrels of sand.
Interesting. Thank you so much.
I'd hate to be on a bridge fighting a fire.
On a platform. Okay. And Nadia, why would RA take the blame for someone else?
We don't know where this is going to go eventually. And we don't know, we're in the early stages of the court. And where will it wind up in a year or two? We have no idea.
Mrs. Sweet, what will the defense attorneys claim, I wonder?
I've have several people that sent me emails, and they're across the board. And I've had people write me comments in my videos that's across the board. And some of them are logical, and we just don't know which way it will go.
All right. And Kathleen at Steve, R.A. may have seen witness when he was on the first platform. Also, his wife may have recognized him. That's why he came forward initially.
Could have been.
Oh, yeah.
That's
that
reasonable.
Wife,
yeah.
That wife gets you, won't she?
Yes.
See?
Absolutely. And you could be absolutely correct.
And Anna, we've heard different things about the video. Like BG is in the background of footage taken of Abby. Was Libby filming Abby walking, or was she aiming at BG and the camera thought Abby was the subject?
Very possible. And that may be what led to some of the pixelation and that she was trying to hide. We don't know. Law enforcement gave her credit, and we have a 43-second long video. And is it by coincidence or was it by design? And law enforcement gave Libby full credit, calling her a hero, that there was a reason. Did she see the gun? Did she recognize the threat? Was there some type of interaction prior that she knew that they were going to be targeted? But everything they did that day has led us to this day, and which we got to be grateful for.
I'm kind of going backwards now.
Okay.
All right. So Sheila, Steve, I wonder if LE has RA phone records to tell if you was in the area and times.
Ives indicated, yes, they had subpoenaed a massive amount of data. And I believe Doug Carter has said that this is the largest case that he's ever worked with, that had the largest amount of data in his career. So for that to be, I would imagine it is all that phone data from that cell tower, because Ives says that they looked at every avenue of who was in the area for the first time, who had never returned to the area again, and that they looked it out and looked at it in every direction they could, and which is a great strategy. And I think the base that Ives and them set for this case will pay off in the long run for justice for Libby and Abby.
And Kathleen, at Steve, if no witness line up in person, can Ellie use video as confirmation of presence?
Well, we have, in this case, we have a witness that says that there's an individual there. Now, will she be able, or has she, prior to or since the arrest warrant, identified Richard Allen? We don't know. But Richard Allen says, hey, that's me. And I was on that bridge. But he doesn't say that that witness saw him. So there is a little wiggle room here. And but during that 7 to 10 minute window of opportunity, we have to have an exchange of, where did Richard Allen go, and where did this unknown individual come from? And we never have any information saying that from Richard Allen that he ever saw anyone matching the description of him that he gave of himself.
And Molly, is it true that any discussion with a religious leader, preacher, priest, rabbi, etc., is protected, confidential, like a lawyer? So you could report a tip through them anonymously.
You know, I don't know what that is. I've never seen it in court. There may be some exclusions for it. I've never seen it used in court, but I've often heard that was the case.
I've heard that too. Let's see here. Okay, so I lost track kind of in the middle.
She lost track. That's all right.
So now I'm headed back the other direction.
Okay.
So let's see here. Looks like we may
Got pretty well caught up.
be caught up.
Okay.
We have a new subscriber.
Thank you. We appreciate all our
That's
supporters.
nice. We sure do too. Yes. And everybody has cold wind.
She has a heating blanket right now.
Come on now.
She's gonna be freezing for the next week.
Yep. Yep. All right. Okay. And Joan, here we go. Question. Do you think he stood on the platform and that is when they first saw him and felt creeped out? That might be why he got there so fast, but we didn't see him in the long view shot behind Abby.
There's a couple pictures credited to Libby taken that day when she first got on the bridge, or right there at the end of it, that she took all the way across it. And did she see Richard Allen all the way at the other end where it's so pixelated that you can't see the view? Did she take that? And then, like you said, we don't see him in the reversed angle. And what would the arguments be made? But that is interesting.
And polygraph. Mrs. Steve, can you imagine that Libby stood on that platform to take a picture of Abby? Not me. Ain't no way.
No.
Nope.
I've been out on the bridge. I stood
Nope.
on the platform and caused her to have a heart attack.
Nope. Mm-mm. Nope.
Although I see that the bridge is completed now and it looks very nice. I saw she's scared of bridges, but I saw Randy crossing it with the has rail. Randy, grab.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was on it.
Well.
Oh, you wouldn't recognize it.
Wow. Okay.
I barely got her across the Freedom Bridge with the going across the interstate. She about crushed my hand. Too. Yeah, she hated that.
I did not like that. All right. It looks like we are. Thank you, Jennifer Rochelle. She's not ever going over it either. See there? All right. We are done.
Well, guys, I appreciate y'all being here tonight. And like I said, we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and happy holidays and have a great new year. If you like the video, share it, subscribe, and we appreciate all the support. We thank everyone that donated. That allows us to go out and do the things that we want to do, from everything from Cyclops to going out and helping these families with the cold cases. It just means a lot to us, and it's something that we never expected that this channel would be able to do, and we couldn't do without your support, and we appreciate it so much. But like I said, if y'all have any information at all regarding this case, just like the one that said that if they were suspicious of and they didn't know who to contact, find somebody that you can talk to at work, friend, pastor, whatever, and get that information to those, because it's so critical that all information has to be brought to the attention of law enforcement, prosecution, and defense. And it has to be brought up there so we can have justice. And but we appreciate everybody for being here tonight. Y'all stay safe, protect yourselves during this cold weather, protect your animals, and look forward. We won't have anything else until after Christmas. And but y'all have a great Christmas out there, and see y'all next week.
And don't forget to hit the like button.
Yes, thank you.
We would appreciate it.
All right.
Love y'all. Merry Christmas.